Ahoy.
Uh, You go, Joe.
You go, Jamie. And why not bring Steve along too? How are you guys doing
Ahoy.
tonight?
Well, hi, all. Thank you for watching this episode of the Massachusetts Pirate News. Today, I'm joined by your usual guests, Joe and Steve. Unfortunately, Malt won't be able to join us. He's busy with other stuff. As always, if you want to help us with these, you can go and send us an email at info@masspirates.org. And we would be happy to hook you up so you can help us produce or even be a talking torso head, something like that. And always, you can find us at masspirates.org. Um, we recently finished one of our monthly pirate moots, which is a discussion that we have once a month. We're going to have another one in February and then try and keep them every month. So, but what news do we have today, Joe?
Well, today we had three different things we really wanted to discuss with you. But the first and foremost is going to be SOPA. It's the 10-year anniversary of it. Now, I wasn't originally part of the original SOPA movement. Um, do you know a little bit more than I would perhaps be able to explain what it was about?
I mean, back in 2011, we put together an information packet for the Massachusetts House members and senators about the Stop Online Piracy Act, which is at that time HR 3261. And it had a Senate bill, PIPA, or Protect Intellectual Property Act. And so, we talked about that it would enable censorship, that would criminalize copyright, it would criminalize copying, it would increase introduce third-party liability, and ultimately it would undermine internet security and privacy. And I'll put a link in that. So we were one of the groups that was opposing SOPA back in 2011, 2012. As Joe said, it is the 10th anniversary. And so it's useful to look back at that and see what worked, because SOPA didn't come into law and PIPA didn't come into law. But unfortunately, other things have since then. And so the fight is not yet over.
Now, if I do recall, he gave a lot of strength to the right to repair movement. And obviously the right to repair is something that we deeply support.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, right to repair is something that's become an even bigger issue since 2012, and is still a fight that we have. Whether it's being able to get the data that your tractor is gathering on your fields, or whether it's getting your mobile phone repaired at someone other than the manufacturer through their exorbitant costs. That fight is still ongoing, but we are making progress. There are a lot of people who, I mean, it's a no-brainer. We had it in Massachusetts where the car right to repair law passed 75% to 25%. So there's a lot of support for that.
Now, you're saying in some ways it did, there were some things that got through. Can you give us some examples of that? Like the FOSTA stuff. I know.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. FOSTA SESTA skated through, which removed removed the liability protections from sites that that would allow sex workers to communicate with their customers. And it's all wrapped up in this sense of sex trafficking, not recognizing that not every sex worker it has been sex trafficked. Additionally, The fact that so many workers exist under poor conditions, but we don't say monster.com or any of the other providers can't go and post those jobs.
I mean, anyone can post a terrible job on monster.com, you know? Anyone. So, that being said, this is something that. So, what would be the next steps where we can go and support this? Still the right to repair movement and things of that nature, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things to think about is copyright in the last several years. The term of copyright hasn't been extended. It's still the life of the author plus 70. And as a result of that, we have, we did a post back in January 2nd, and we've done other ones the beginning of the last few years where we posted the culture, the works of art or books, movies, music that are now available that were not available before because they were under copyright protection. And so people can take them, they can remix them, they can perform them, they can recite them, they can freely copy them, and there's no problem with that. And that fight is, we still have to contend with the potential issues of copyright and being used to prevent people from sharing the culture that we all exist in and that we all create. But at the same time, we are seeing now finally works going into the public domain where they should once, where they should be and where they should have gone long ago, because ultimately most works don't even, if you looked back at, say, when the term of copyright was 28 plus 28, most works weren't even renewed for the second 28 years, or even the second 14 years when terms of copyright were 14 years. So
I mean,
it is still there.
Sorry for interrupting, Jamie.
No, that's fine.
I was going to
progress. I mean, that's
say.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to just say. I mean, that's one of the big things that we fight against is like the extensive nature of what copyright is. I mean, it just stifles innovation, 100%, and stifles that growth, and just stifles people being able to use new technologies to build upon new technologies. And all it does is just really hurt the little guy. And these bigger corporations with all the money can come in and do what they need to do in order to shut everyone else down.
Well,
I mean, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. One of, like, in terms of, just to follow up on what you were saying, Joe, about copyright being used to shut things down. One of the, like, nefarious uses I have heard of is, police officers or politicians, making statements, patrolling, whatever, playing popular music in the background. And what this does is it prevents you from filming them. So, because if you were to, film, say a politician statements at a fundraiser, they've got some piece of copyrighted music playing in the background. Well, you're almost certain that even if what they said is very much the subject of public interest, posting a recording of them is likely going to be subject to a takedown notice.
Yeah. So making it all the harder to make all of this public.
Absolutely.
And in other terrible news, the UK's at it again.
Oh yeah, so this is another chapter in the war on encryption. Sigh. But this is lately the UK has launched something called the No Place to Hide campaign, and it seems to be a bit of more of a, I guess, just a political awareness kind of thing, where the government is, put a few £100,000 into publicizing this, but it is basically an affront to, it's basically an assault on end-to-end encryption. Like, for example, one of the materials said something to the effect of, do you know what end-to-end encryption means? It means that social media platforms are no longer able to detect cases of child sexual abuse and no longer able to report it to police, which is kind of an indirect way of saying privacy is for pedophiles. Now, I think that, is a very narrow view, an exceedingly narrow view of how encryption is used, whether it's for securing financial data, banking transactions, business communications, or even your personal communications. There would be no, commerce on the internet without encryption. And really likening it, they're kind of taking the approach of an approach that would be equivalent to, well, cars kill people, so let's just outlaw roads. Personally, I think there are other ways that you can combat this stuff. Anywhere from spending money on awareness or, campaigns that teach kids about social media, or how to, parents about how to work with their kids and teach them about social media. The Register had a nice article about this, and we will post that in the description of the video.
I mean, are they going to make all the information about the royal family completely public? Because, if they're going to go ahead and do this to, an end-all encryption, we should end all encryption for the royal family as well.
Yeah, it's sometimes, sometimes there is a certain element of do as I say, not as I do going on here. It's like, well, the public's communication should, the public should have no privacy, but, the government or the royal family, well, that's different. I beg to differ personally.
Oh, we're doing it for security reasons. Security my ass.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go on.
I was just gonna, all I was gonna say is I could understand in military actions where they don't want to broadcast how their troops are moving, but that's pretty much where it ends. If you're not in an actual war zone, excuse me, look at what's all coming out right now. It's a disgrace. And it could have been nipped in the bud probably a long time ago before it became this huge tobacco, for all of UK, let alone and that's across the pond, let alone all the crap going on over here.
No, there is a trade-off between legitimate needs for information security and being able to hide things from the public that the public might get really unhappy about if it knew. Now, this is one of the lines that we're kind of walking. I would rather see, at least for, on the side of government, I would rather err on the side of being open and transparent and public. And, people tend to respect decisions a little more if they understand what the thought process that went into them, kind of thing. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, to be perfectly frank, if it's choosing between privacy, this terrible choice between privacy for the individual and still fighting the government to close doors, or the government having everything out in the open for everybody no matter what, I would still go for privacy myself, because, no one needs to see into my personal life. If you do, woe to you, but I'm not that interesting. But that being said, I would rather have privacy than a camera up everyone's butt.
Mm-hmm. It's, the main thing is having a little bit of say in the matter. You can choose what to share with other people, and you can choose what you'd rather not.
Yeah, the thing that I'm always hark back to is they want to put in back doors, or they want
Oh yeah.
they want some way that don't just trust us. We'll be able to gain access, but no one else will, which we know is false. If you put in a bug that hinders that removes encryption, someone's going to figure it out. It could be a government. It could be it could be organized crime. It could be a kid. That's going to get out there, and so
Mhm.
it's out there. Now you've got to go and maybe you can patch it, maybe you can't. How long does it take to figure out that people know the back door? And then if you have the back door, well, they want to keep the back door, so maybe then, oh, that's a state secret that other people can get in, that it's been hacked. We know that governments try to hack the keys of various companies so that they can go and decrypt their communications. So what if you give these keys in escrow to the UK government? How do we guarantee those keys are always going to be secure? And so it isn't a question of privacy or security. We need security to have privacy, and we need privacy to have security. Those two reinforce one another.
Good point.
And speaking in other terrible privacy news, Amazon. The end.
Yeah, so this came over the transom today. Reuters has an investigation about documents they have acquired, such that indicate Amazon has amassed a vast amount of sensitive personal information on its customers, and they have been lobbying in order to gut legislation that seek to give consumers more control over their data. And they've been trying to do it secretly so they don't seem like bad guys. But there is a website you can go to request all your personal information. And from what I've heard, it's things like your search history, your purchase history, but also things like if you have an Amazon device or a device that uses Amazon services, so you can talk to your device and purchase something or look it up. All those recordings are available. They don't delete them. They just keep them.
Yeah, I'm surprised how that works with Massachusetts wiretap law or any state with two-party consent.
That's an interesting point to bring to the ACLU.
You just imagine if
Hey,
Alexa
Google.
says,
Hey Google, set alarm for call the ACLU tomorrow morning.
it could be kind of funny. You could say, "Hello, Alexa. This conversation is being recorded." What if Alexa verbally reminded you each time you talk to it that your conversation was being recorded? I wonder if that would change people's perceptions or not.
It would probably tell me to go play with an electrical socket.
Alexa's been spending too much time watching TikTok.
Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of things wrong with it, and the longer it goes on, the more likely it's going to be like us, killbots. Eventually it'll do the wrong copy pasta of one person's personality and just destroy us all.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon's whole business model is reliant on all of the data they can get on you. So they can use their algorithms to figure out what things they need to have in stock, what products they should go and copy in some knockoff or even data potentially that they could sell. And so they don't want us to have privacy because it hinders their business model.
Sounds like a Google thing from a few years ago, actually.
I mean, that surveillance capitalism is a thing.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, companies like Google and Amazon and Facebook are the obvious ones, but you have others like Axiom, who are, they're basically in the business of being data brokers and collecting information and, building profiles. So it's, there are some definitely well-known names that you've heard of, and there are some names that you probably have not heard of.
I mean, there's only real two times when you really need to be a creeper and be stalking people and finding information on them. Either you're trying to get them a present, or you're doing marketing. And with that, folks, definitely like, share, subscribe, sign up for our newsletter. Jamie puts a lot of love into that, and definitely be a part of our email chain. So, and definitely comment. We love your comments. So, definitely.
Bye, folks.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, done.